जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीर वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय गौर निताय जय गौर निताय। गौर निताय जय गौर निताय। जय जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपदा। जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपदा। हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। और प्रेमानंदी ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। bhagavate vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati nastaki. So we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita, crying alone in the wilderness. Before I start that, as in the class, it turned out that it's Ramanujacharya's appearance day today. Just a small incident came to my mind. When Ramanujacharya was asked by Mahapurna to take initiation from Goshtipurna. So he went to Goshtipurna for initiation to get the mantra. Goshtipurna refused. And he went about 18 times to Goshtipurna to get initiation and he refused. Finally, in one festival, Goshtipurna was available there, and the deity spoke to Goshtipurna directly, give initiation to Ramanujacharya. He is not ordinary person. Goshtipurna was saying that, I will consider, but this mantra is very powerful. He may not hold this mantra. He may not be able to hold this mantra. The mantra is very powerful. And I am requesting you to reconsider again your request, because I do not think it's right to give initiation in this mantra to Ramanujacharya. So Goshtipurna, very powerful. Lord is speaking to him. And he is saying, no. Amazing. But then, deity spoke again to him that you should give this mantra to Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya came again, and Goshtipurna said, okay, as instructed by the Lord, though I am not willing, but reluctantly I am okay to give you this mantra. So in this ceremony, Goshtipurna, he spoke the mantra in the ear of Ramanujacharya and asked him before that, please, please, give me assurance that you will not tell this mantra to anyone, because no one is qualified to chant this mantra. I am giving you this mantra only because I have been asked by the Lord himself, Ranganath. So he gave mantra, and the Ramanujacharya, when he heard the mantra in the ear, his whole body started trembling. Hairs stand on the ends, and he was just feeling energized and very enthusiastic and very powerful. He was feeling in himself that, yes, I got the mantra. And what was that mantra? I will let you know later on. The story continues. So Ramanujacharya, after taking initiation, was returning. And while returning, on the way he saw in a place, thousands and thousands of people were gathered together in a fair, and they were enjoying, eating this, that, having family fun. But then Ramanujacharya thought, I got this mantra. But what about all these people? Maybe I will go back to Godhead. But who will give mercy to all of these people who are destined for death and will die very soon? If they can get this mantra, they will be delivered. So it's important that we give mantra to these people also. So he gathered all the people and standed and got somewhere higher place and called everyone, please come, I have a secret. It will open the doors of happiness, pleasure, prosperity in your life. Please come. Everyone got to get gathered around him. And he said, chant with me this mantra, given by my Guru Maharaj. Very powerful mantra, will deliver you from all your sins of the previous lives and will bring your life to successful end, and you will go back to Godhead. Then he recited the mantra. You can recite after me. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. So this was the mantra given by Goshti Purna to Ramanujacharya, very powerful mantra at that time. Of course, 500 years ago, we were given the mantra by Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And this mantra is even more powerful than Om Namo Narayana, which is 8-syllable mantra, and this is 16-word mantra. So when news reached to Goshti Purna, he was angry like anything. And when his disciples went to Ramanujacharya, Guru Maharaj wants to meet you immediately without delay in a second. Ramanujacharya realized, now I am going to be chastised heavily by my Guru Maharaj because I broke my promise. So he went to Goshti Purna, and Goshti Purna's eyes were like red hot in anger. I don't want to see your face. Never show me your face again. You broke the promise. I told you not to tell this mantra to anyone else, and you did it. Now you must prepare for suffering in hell for thousands of years. Ramanujacharya, with tears in his eyes, he said, Guru Maharaj, you are right. I broke the promise and I deserve hellish planetary conditions, hellish life. But what about those thousands of people? They were all destined for hellish life. If I saved their lives by giving them this mantra, and if I go to hell, what is the difficulty? What is the loss? Myself, so insignificant soul, if I go to hell, but they are saved, that's fine to me. After hearing this, Goshti Purna melted down. He said, in fact, you are my Guru. You understood the right meaning of compassion, giving mantra to the whole humanity, giving Krishna consciousness to the whole humanity is the prime dharma of humankind. Bharat bhumi janam hoile jar, janam sartak kari kar par upkar. So in this way, his guru was pleased and he forgave Ramanujacharya. Yes, you are right. Very powerful personality, Ramanujacharya. I would not go further in his hundreds and thousands of pastimes, stories. Now I will come back to the topic. Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita. This is the book written by His Holiness Sat Sarup Das Goswami Maharaj. He was one of the 12 early disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Whatever he heard directly from Prabhupada and whatever he verified through all the incidences and the places, he put them all together in this book. And in this chapter, Crying Alone in the Wilderness, Srila Prabhupada is in Delhi. He lives in Vrindavan, but he goes very often to Delhi. And he is involved in publishing Back to Godhead newsletter. And with no money, he would beg for paper. He would pay from bagging the printing charges. Then he would personally go to street, not in streets as a hawker, but to the cafe, canteens, shopping places like that. And he will ask people. So Prabhupada, in this newsletter Back to Godhead, he would approach to people and he would give them Back to Godhead newsletter. And he mentioned that sometimes people will say, I have no time, go away. They say that they are too busy in earning money for maintaining the body and soul together. But when we ask them what to do, what do they mean by the soul, they have nothing to reply. They don't know anything. What is body? Who is the owner of the body? Soul. They have no knowledge. Dr. Meghnath Saha, a great scientist, was busily going to a meeting of a planning commission. Unfortunately, while going in his car, on the road he died and could not ask death to wait because he had no time at that moment. So Prabhupada is giving one example. Dr. Meghnath Saha, and he's going, great scientist. When time comes, scientists, philosophers, big politicians, big spiritual leaders, religious leaders, all they must die immediately. Another example, Dr. Ansari, a great Congress leader, while dying in a moving train on his way home, said that he himself was a medical man and almost all his family members were so, but death is so cruel that he was dying without any medical treatment. So people, even the family is of doctors, full of doctors, still nobody could save Dr. Ansari. Prabhupada is giving an example. Death can come anytime. Like in case of Ramanujacharya, when he was asked to get initiation from Goshti Purna, when Mahapurna asked him, so he said, you can go tomorrow. But Ramanujacharya said, no, I cannot wait for initiation. Death can come anytime. Initiation means, Diksha means that we get connected to the parampara without any delay. If we are connected to ISKCON in one way or the other, we must get initiation immediately. Very simple. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. Chant 16 rounds, read Bhagavatam, rise early in the morning, that's it. Very simple. And Prabhupada has given guarantee. By following this 4-16-4, rising 4 o'clock in the morning, attending Mangal Arati, chant good 16 rounds, following 4 regulatory principles of freedom automatically, will go back to Godhead. Nothing much. Need not to be manager, need not to be a sannyasi. Prabhupada's guarantee, he has given it. anyone in ISKCON. And Prabhupada said, anyone who is serving in ISKCON will go back to Godhead. Prabhupada has given this guarantee. Unless we make Vaishnava aparad. That's the only thing can block us. Only precaution, no Vaishnava aparad. That's it. We may have some problems in our mind, anger, pride. All these things may be there a little bit, but Krishna will. And Krishna has guaranteed that even though at the time of death, you are not able to remember me for one or the other reason, maybe some coma or some accident, but because you lived a life of purity, you lived a life in Krishna consciousness, and you lived a life full of service, that will save us from the biggest danger. Trayate mehto bhayat, Bhagavad-Gita 240. Whatever little bit neha bikram nasho asti, whatever little bit service we do is never lost. Sarvamasya dharmasya trayate mehto bhayat. It will save us from the biggest danger of becoming some animal in next life. So that is the power of this mantra, that is the power of the seva. So Prabhupada gave two examples here, that they died, Dr. Ansari, Dr. Meghnath Saha, and nobody could save them. Death can come anytime. Therefore, death has been described in the Bhagavad as the indefatigable. Death is awaiting everyone, although everybody thinks that he may not die. There is life after death. The busy man should not try to know this also as to whether he is going, as to where he is going. This life is but a spot in the longest sojourn, and sane person should not be busy with a spot only. So life is moving from species after species. Human form of life is very special, very precious. It is like if we give a big log of sandalwood to somebody as a gift. Sandalwood is very costly, very rare, and used for incense or some tilak. But if that person, if you go to his home after giving this gift, and if you happen to be his home, and he is put this log in the fireplace and just getting some heat in the cold weather. So that will be the misuse of the human form of life. That if we indulge in sense gratificatory activities in human form of life. So it's like a burning the sandalwood just for getting some heat, which we can get from any other wood. So we can get this sense gratification, eating, mating, sleeping, defending in any human form, any form of life. So why waste time in human form of life in those four activities, pleasures, which are available to all these species of life? So human form of life should not be, that's why Prabhupada is saying here, nobody says that the body should not be maintained. But everybody should know Bhagavad-Gita, that the body is outward dress and the soul is the real person and puts the new dress. So if the dress is taken care of only, without any care of the real person, it's sheer foolishness and waste of time. So if we put all our energy in eating, mating, sleeping, depending, ahara, nidra, bhaya, mathunam cha, samanya metad pashubhi naranam, dharmoi eko adhiko vishesho dharmen hina pashu samana. So we are no better than an animal if we put our all time and energy and efforts in these four things, in maximizing these four things. But Bhagavad-Gita says, Vedic literature says that we should not put any effort. There should be some eating, some mating, some defending, some eating, mating, sleeping, defending, but not to the extent that we maximize it. Like in the old age, our eyes are dull, our fire in the stomach is dull, our hairs are gone, our tongue, all the sense organs, they just got retarded. But instead of taking this as a message that soon this body will end, people use very, very artificial means to increase or maximize these four things, thinking that these are the only things which will give them pleasure. But death will come and take everything away. Mrityu sarvasya harascha aham. Abhay was an unusual newspaper vendor. He did not loudly hawk his paper on the street or sell it from newsstand. He approached individuals quietly as they sat down to drink tea, or he would call on acquaintances in their offices or places of business. Taking a copy from the stack, he carried underneath his arm. He would present what happened to be an ordinary tabloid newspaper with bold black headlines across the front page. But what odd headlines! The lowest of mankind. Philosophical problems within social awareness, suffering of humanity, the pure consciousness of nationalism. Anyone could tell a glance that there was no ordinary newspaper, that this was no ordinary newspaper. Abhay would say something to try to convince them to take it away. Before they said no time. So Prabhupada single-handedly, such a big Bhagavad Acharya, directly sent by Krishna on this planet to deliver the whole humanity. And at the age of maybe 55 or something like that, he's on the streets getting this newsletter, taking sannyas, old man, no money, and trying to preach Krishna consciousness, the struggle, crying alone in the wilderness. People will say no time. Before they say no time, Prabhupada would just show them the titles, very different from the newspapers. On behalf of his spiritual master and the previous Vaishnava authorities, he was playing a role. The newspaper salesman, a smiling demeanor, a gentlemanly invitation. No, it wasn't an ordinary newspaper, but they would find it interesting. And it cost only 6 paisa. Thus he was extending the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, handing out the truths of the Vedas in the easy-to-take form of a newspaper. So Prabhupada was, like one time, Danvir Goswami Maharaj, he came to our temple from Kansas City to Boise. And in Sunday program, he put his book table. And whenever he would put his book table, in the back, he would have a big poster showing the parampara. Krishna, Brahma, Narad, Madhvacharya, all these acharya, all there. And Maharaj would say that these books are representing wisdom of thousands of years, which was churned out or extracted out by the Goswamis, Acharyas, throughout the Vedic parampara. And that knowledge, like Goswamis, what they will do, Nana Shastra Vicharana ko nipuno Sadharma Sanstapako Vande Rup Sanatano Raghu Yugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Nana Shastra Vichar Nayako Nipuno. These Shat Goswamis, direct disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nana Shastra Vichar Nayako Nipuno. They would look into the literature of all the Vedic literatures. And because common man doesn't have time to extract, to read all these things, so they would bring out the most relevant, like Prabhupada did the best thing. He put the whole Vedic knowledge given by the previous acharyas in parampara, and he put that together and gave it to us, or rather to the whole world, in a way that is more relevant. Like in Gaudiya Math, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati time, he would ask every devotee to chant 64 rounds a day. Then they would be in Gaudiya Math. But then Prabhupada, because Acharya, being Acharya, he could change the system based on time, place and circumstances. That is the power of Acharya, that he can deliver people with his instructions because of his power. So he adjusted that to 16 because he knew that in this age of Kali Yuga, we are very disturbed and we will not be able to chant 64 rounds and we may just run away. Though we can chant more than 16 always, many devotees they do, but minimum 16 rounds to deliver us. So here, handing out the truth of the Vedas in the easy to take form of a newspaper, like our Back to Godhead magazine nowadays is a magazine. And you can put it on your table, in your office, like when I was doing my PhD in USA, in Idaho, I used to have all the books on my shelf and Back to Godhead magazine. And one time Jennifer, the secretary of my professor, Jim DeShazer, she took Back to Godhead magazine. And incidentally in that magazine, Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, and all the things about Krishna was mentioned. And she highlighted all those things as a fault, like the Krishna's gopis were mentioned. So she put that Krishna is a woman hunter, womanizer. And he would take away the clothes of the gopis, cheater, butter thief. So she highlighted all of that in the whole article. And said, look, this is your God. So clever. Very difficult to make them understand. And Prabhupada did it by his own power. Like one time, some reporter asked Prabhupada, and one of his disciples, I forgot the name, he was sitting there. And reporter asked, so you are the head of the society. How you take decisions? How you appoint, nominate people for various tasks, for positions? Prabhupada said, yeah, Krishna tells me. Then reporter couldn't understand. She asked again, how you take decisions in various positions and this and that? Then, I forgot the name, the disciple of Prabhupada sitting there, he tried to adjust, thinking that reporter may understand this way. So he said, yeah, actually, we read our scriptures, and there in the scripture there are certain regulations, rules and things, and certain level of knowledge. When we find people, when we see somebody having those qualifications, we appoint them. And Prabhupada said, no, Krishna tells me. So the point here is, Prabhupada, one time I was reading Bhurijan Prabhu's book about, I forgot the name of the book. In that book, Bhurijan Prabhu mentioned that one time Uddhava and he himself went to meet Prabhupada. And Bhurijana Prabhu was writing in his book that I was senior devotee. And when we reached and bowed down before Prabhupada, Prabhupada took off his garland and put on the neck of Uddhava. And Bhurijan Prabhu mentioned that I was shocked. I was thinking maybe I'm senior. Prabhupada could have given the garland to me, but he gave to Uddhava. And Bhurijan Prabhu mentioned that after a couple of months, Uddhava left ISKCON. Prabhupada could see that he is weak. Prabhupada could see that he could leave. And Prabhupada wanted to give his mercy to Uddhava, specifically put his own garland to his neck. This is the power of Acharya. So Prabhupada's despite his desperate poverty and the urgency of his message, his writing was never shrill, strident, or fanatical. He wrote expecting to find his reader prepared to hear sound philosophy and always willing to accept the truth, especially when presented logically and relevantly and supported by the authoritative Vedic literature. No concoction, no mess up. One time, Prabhupada was in Mexico and the Yatra festival was held. Thousands of people came and Prabhupada was sitting in a booth answering questions, and devotees brought Miss Mexico to Prabhupada. And devotees said, Prabhupada, here's Miss Mexico. She loved our colorful, musical, dynamic, dancing and chanting festival very much. She liked our colors. She's calling of his festival of colors, festival of India, festival of chariot, and she's very impressed. Prabhupada said, did she like our philosophy, our books? Did you give her some books? So Prabhupada would make a show. Show means to go out with Lord Jagannath and invite people, attract people. But then he would come back to the basics, books. He would not just say, oh, thank you, very nice, you came to the festival, nice prasad, everything. But Prabhupada said, yes, books. How much we can preach and how much we can show in 1 hour, 2 hours of discussion and argument. Better we give a book, and in that way, they will take it and they will read it and they will become devotees. Like Prabhupada said in West Bengal, I remember when I was a child, some of you may remember also, a magazine used to come from Russia, USSR back then called Soviet Rus, Soviet Nari. And having that smooth, nice, beautiful, big size, big, nice paper, we used to use that for making covers of the books, our school books. But that was profusely distributed in West Bengal very much. And whole Bengal turned into Marxists. And they are even today. They have that comrade and that mentality of Marxism in their mind. So Prabhupada said, distribution of books can change. And we have seen it in Poland. Indudumna Maharaj organized that festival of India, Woodstock festival. And thousands of people, they are becoming devotees. They are coming to cover. And Prabhupada always said, like Prabhupada here, he is trying to preach by publishing a newsletter back to Godhead. And he is trying to pick up the relevant events of the time and trying to connect people to Krishna through those social happenings. But then, when he went to America, he made all those people Krishna conscious just by chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And he called this not a philosophical pursuit. He called it kitchen religion. Our Krishna consciousness movement is kitchen religion. It's a culture. It's not a religion. It's a culture, Krishna culture. That we connect everything to Krishna. That is our culture. We cook and we eat. Simply we offer to Krishna, that's it. Nothing changed. Except put in a plate, Krishna you take. We want to have birthdays, anniversaries, parties. Invite everyone, have prasadam. We want to play music, invite devotees, have kirtan. Nothing is lost. Dance in kirtans, people dance like anything. All fun. So we lose no fun. And many times, when we take prasadam from temple and distribute to those who, even khichdi, we distribute to students in the programs. They appreciate it very much. Simple khichdi. Because the prasad, prasade sarva dukkhanam, prasad takes away all the miseries and we distribute prasad. Philosophy comes on later. Chant, dance and eat prasadam. But if you are philosophically inclined, you may read some of the books. Okay, read, you should read. But chanting and dancing, eating prasadam and doing some service is enough. Although experience on the street of Delhi had shown him that people were shallow, distracted and uninterested in self-realization, he knew that most people, at least at some time in their lives, pondered the crucial themes of philosophy, whether God exists, whether He is a person, why there is suffering. So Abhay appealed to their higher sentiments. One time, in 1999, when Y2K bug hit the whole world, what was Y2K bug? Year 2000 bug. I was there, and thousands of engineers were hired, computer scientists were hired all over the world, and I used to write programs, computer programs, and in that Fortran coding, every year was denoted by 2 digits, 79, 80, 81, 82. The programming started in 1950s. Nobody realized at that time that one day, after 50 years, when it will become 00, because 2000 will be represented by 2 zeros. Then computer will fail and will go back to 1900, may go back to, or may become confused. Or some of the warheads, nuclear submarines, or machines, or big nuclear installations, or big government machineries, they run automatically based on the programs. Like I used to manage the dams, and when they would turn 1900, how they will recognize? So that was Y2K bug. And people were scared. We were chanting in the downtown near the assembly, and in the night at 12, when the clock moved 12:01, people were thinking something may happen, but nothing happened. So that was avoided. But then I was there again when this year the Twin Towers were attacked by the terrorists. And next day we were chanting again on the streets on Sunday. And people were saying, "Where were you? Didn't you see the Twin Towers attack?" I said, "Yeah, we were there. We are here again. We cannot stop." He was saying that, "What you guys are doing? Why can't you stop these attacks? Why can't you stop poverty? Why can't you stop hunger? Why can't you stop people suffering?" Yes, chant Hare Krishna. It will stop. It will be minimized because by chanting, our karma is reduced. Yastu indriya athendriya indra gopa. Brahma Samhita, Brahma says, you may be Indra Gopa, an insect in the stool, so in the cow dung, Indra Gopa. Or you may be the king of heaven, Indra, Karmanu Rupmapi. You have to go through your karma. Nobody can escape. But then why are you chanting? What is the process of Krishna consciousness? But Krishna says, Kintu, Karmani nirdayati kintu cha bhakti bhajan. Govinda Mahadi Purusha. Karmani nirdayati. Your karma will burn in the fire of chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this chanting will burn our karma. And that's why we chant. And the power of mantra is, one time Prabhupada temple president came to receive Prabhupada, and Prabhupada saw that the temple president was langda ke chal rahe the. Prabhupada said, what happened? Prabhupada, I got hit by a nail on the wooden log which was lying in the temple. Some construction was going on. Prabhupada immediately said, yes, Krishna saved you from a big happening. You may be destined for broken your leg or cutting your leg off. And Krishna just scratched and finished off. Prabhupada said that. That is the power of the chanting. Prabhu, you have a question, so we can stop here also. But if any question, yes. 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 Very nice. Yes, you're right. And it is also important that we connect what is written here. If we simply read it, that's good. We can go with the flow and we can get something out of it. We can move on. But it is also important to understand how philosophically this book is connected with Prabhupada's pastimes. Because Prabhupada's Leela Amrita is just like a Bhagavad-Gita. It is no ordinary life or no ordinary jivani or the Leela Amrita of an ordinary person. So we have to connect his life with the bigger philosophical points and bigger other events so that it becomes more interesting and more relishable. Otherwise, you are right that we should maintain the flow. Thank you.
Yeah, because those, main things should be Leelamrita.
Yes.
The other examples should be,
yeah.
few.
Yes, yeah. That's everyone taste different. I understand your taste, but some people, they like the other things also so that they can relate and relish with the past events and the current events.
But
so spring of 1956 brought visits from US Secretary of State Dulles and a few days later Lord Mountbatten, the former Governor General of India, who was greeted at the airport by thousands. Then came the celebration of the once sacred day of Holi, when urchins spray all passerby with colored eyes. Prime Minister Nehru toured the Delhi slums, expressing disgust at the prevailing conditions. He announced India's intention to develop atomic energy, stressing its peaceful uses. The weather warmed. A broader clash between India and Pakistan. Delhi railway workers were into strike. Meanwhile, Abhay continued to preach. So what do we understand from this? I just read. So what do we understand from this? Okay. Okay. So what Prabhupada is, Satswarup Maharaj is writing here, Lord Mountbatten visited, Secretary of State, US visited, weather warmed up, India-Pakistan war started. So he is trying to bring the scenario together. Why? Because Prabhupada, he is poor, he is like a beggar, he is a sannyasi, he has left home, he has no money. Now he is preaching, and what was the environment? And when he went to America, he preached to hippies. What was the environment there? What is the environment here? So he's trying to build a picture of the society, how things are happening and what message is Prabhupada giving. He somehow managed to meet the financial, editorial and printing demands and published his 6th issue for the year 1956. The May 20th admission of Back to God at the front page carried a special notice. As a matter of principle, we'll finish after this paragraph. Please read Back to God and revive your deeper aspects of personality. There is nothing in it which is our ideology, manufactured by imperfect sense perception, but all that it contains are messages of our liberated sages. We are simply helping them to speak again to men and women in easy language for real life. Every responsible man and woman must therefore read it regularly at a cost of very insignificant sum of 2-3 rupees a year. Do not neglect it. It is for your interest. It will create a happy society of humanity. So again, Prabhupada is stressing that we are getting the message of liberated sages through Back to Godhead newsletter Prabhupada is publishing. And he's saying it's very low price, but the wisdom you are getting is very valuable, very high level. You should read it. You should take it. In How to Broadcast the Teaching of Bhagavad-Gita, he talked about the need for spiritual organization society, a model community, which he named Gita Nagari, the village where Bhagavad-Gita is sung, would live by the Bhagavad-Gita and preach its message to the world. Praising Mahatma Gandhi for his Vaishnava qualities, Abhay suggested that Gandhi had also esteemed the Gita Nagari concept. It was the only way of relief from the suffering caused by demoniac principal leaders who were misguiding the present demoralized civilization. So here again, Prabhupada used Mahatma Gandhi, that he always thought of preaching Gita, though his details were different than what Prabhupada mentioned, but he was again in favor of reading Gita. So Prabhupada wanted to use all the leaders, their quotes, present-day events in preaching the message of Godhead. So we can stop here. Thank you very much for any other question or comments. That was a good comment. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.